Got it? Okay. So next we've got from the Boston University's Daily Free Press, we have Sonia Rao, and we have Sekar Krisnauli.
So hi, as he said, I'll move closer. My name is Sonia Rao. I'm currently the managing editor of the Daily Free Press.
My name is Sekar Krisnauli, and I'm currently the campus editor of the Daily Free Press.
So before we started, we just wanted to go through the structure of our paper. It's pretty simple. So how it works is, first of all, we are completely independent, so we are not affiliated with the Boston University administration in any way. The only way is that we get subsidized rent for our actual office, but that's it. So all of our money is from either fundraising or advertising revenue. And so our paper is run by an e-board, so there's 11 positions, and we also have a board of directors that is just past editors, basically. So again, entirely student-run. We split news, as you know. Sekar said she's the campus editor, so we have 2 news sections. We have city and campus, and then we have sports, so we only cover campus sports. We have features, opinion, which I'll expand on later, blog, multimedia, photo, and then layout. And based off of layout, we only print once a week, largely due to funding, but also we are pretty digital. We're digital every weekday. We generate new content. So those are all of our editorial board positions.
So Speed Team, this is an initiative that we started last semester. So what we do is so the news staff and current editors, we have shifts weekdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And for each day, it's divided into 3 shifts. So it's from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., 12 to 3, 3 to 5. So what we aim to do is to make sure that there is a set of people, reporters and editor, that is available to cover any breaking news story. And this has actually been working very well for us this past semester. We've covered 4 breaking news, and we've utilized this team frequently, almost all the time. So what we do during this time is we would usually usually 2 staff writer and 1 editor. We would hang out in the central area, and we would stay on top of our Twitter feed, Facebook, and any kind of social media that's good. We have a certain Twitter list. Or sometimes we might also hear tips from certain students or other editors that say, hey, this is happening on this side of campus. Can you please go check out, call BUPD or stuff like that. And what our next step would definitely get a confirmation from BUPD or a spokesperson, and we would tweet this information on our Twitter. And that's definitely the first steps during Speed Team. And then what we would do next is we would have a following brief of about 100 to 300 word story. And if we have more information throughout the day, we would publish a story, a complete coverage of what happened for the following day.
And so one thing I wanted to say is we actually also use Slack. I would definitely recommend it if you guys don't. We actually have a channel within that. It's just breaking news. So it's our news editors, the top 2 is what we call the editor-in-chief and managing. So it's them, and then we have our associate news editors who the news editors will then reach out to as well. So it's really helpful with communication, especially if there is breaking news. So for example, last week or the week before, I think, there was actually a fire in our building, the communication building, and so we were able to get people on that within minutes probably, especially because it was our building, so people were there. But things like that, just anything that comes out of nowhere, you can just communicate with people who are on Speed Team, and we're able to cover it pretty quickly. So going off of that, we are really trying to be online first. I mean, we are online first, but social media as well. So we do share stories on Facebook to get people to read them, but we're really heavily reliant on Twitter to also present information that's not necessarily on our website. So one way we do this is we recently had student government elections, and so there were debates and things like that. And one thing we did with that is we actually used Periscope to stream the debate on Twitter. And then we also have our writers who are covering events live tweet, and then they'll just tweet it at our account, and we'll retweet it, something like that. So we're able to, of course, provide coverage the next day online, but also while things are happening. And then going off of that, we've also done polls in the past. We're trying to move toward this more as time goes on. So we haven't necessarily done a ton of polls, but a lot of it does come from student elections. A lot of it is SG. Breaking news, like we said, the way that we operate our Twitter account is that the The only people who actually have the power to use it are the top two and then our multimedia editor. And so the multimedia editor primarily does the tweets for like scheduling it throughout the day using Hootsuite to get people to read our stories, but then the top two are the ones who do the breaking news tweets. We just want to keep it up there just because obviously we're the ones at the end of the day who are responsible for the paper. So we want to control that like hectic breaking news social media presence as well. And finally, embedding tweets. So of course we are online. We use WordPress as our platform. I guess I don't know what the word is for that. But yeah, we try to embed things that happen into our stories as well. Okay. And we have really tried to include more multimedia into our website as well. And so,
page to our website.
oh yeah, you can go. So we're actually going to show you an example from a couple semesters ago when former Mayor Menino passed away. We had a special page that our then multimedia editor created, which kind of compiled all of our coverage of Mayor Menino.
So this is our website.
Yeah, this is our website. It's a little bit under construction right now because we had some problems with WordPress, but
So these are special pages that we were just talking about.
so our multimedia editor would create a custom page based on what the event would be. So this was Mayor Menino's page. And as you can see, like there's all these different stories from that we've done in the past. So they weren't all created at that moment, but we kind of, yeah, it was a compilation of stories. And we do this for a lot of things. We did it for a lot of student government things recently and just major events.
So that's that. And like what Sonia mentioned about student government, this is what's been happening this semester, student government elections. So these are past coverage over the past month or so, and we have videos. You like to embed those kind of stuff.
And a major portion of our multimedia team as well is video. So we do try to, we have standalone videos if it doesn't necessarily call for a long written story, but then sometimes, especially with SG, we have a lot of dual content, so we have a video embedded into a story.
Yeah. For this semester, we also aimed to do a long form story. Wait, what?
Get the slideshow.
Oh, I want to show the thing too.
What?
Do you not want to show
We'll
the
do that
long
at the
form? Okay.
Well, we might do this at the end to make sure we have time to cover everything, but we do have long-form stories that we've been working toward. This was something that Sam Gross is our current editor-in-chief, and she couldn't be here today, but this is definitely something she pushed for this semester. Our editorial board positions are also a semester. And so something that she wanted to introduce was long-form stories, and so we wanted to have one story per section every month, so that we have, I think, 6 sections that run editorial content. And so we wanted to just deeply research a prevalent issue and then from there kind of incorporate more of that multimedia presence as well. So have a custom page. If you guys use WordPress, there's actually a plugin called Visual Composer that makes it easier to create pages like that. It's a lot more user-friendly than just straight up coding it. So I'd look into that as well. Those are the examples we can show you guys after.
And the next thing that we experiment with visual and multimedia is we have visual articles in print. So we have a few examples, but generally what we do is we visualize data that we get for a certain story. Sometimes we might report on stories that is very rich in data, numbers, or even a visualization of like a certain process. Sometimes we like to do timelines on, let's say, faculty unionization or Greek life suspension, stuff like that. And these are like a few examples that we do.
So this falls under our layout editor's jurisdiction, I guess, because our layout editor is also the one who does graphics for anything that calls for a graphic, whether it's online or in print, like we said. So this was actually a graphic done for the 2015 municipal election results. And then this was about, it was campaign, yeah. It's a review of campaign for BU.
Yeah, so BU launched a new campaign around last year, and this is just a thing that we did that showed the history and the process of how these campaigns has gone. And the reporting is all done by the staff writer, whoever's writing it, so we just gather that and turn it into like a pretty appealing form.
And we do it for different sections as well. So when I was features editor last semester, we just did a piece on food truck business, which is like pretty relevant on our campus, obviously being in a city. So we have tons of food trucks, and we actually we had our reporter talk to a few of them. So this is kind of a timeline of 3 really prevalent ones on campus, and we have some information regarding funding, and then our layout editor kind of visualized it as she wanted to last semester. And then the last example we have right now, because we are running out of time, is sports. So we also obviously cover sports, and this is about Hockey East, and it's about the rankings. And yeah, so we kind of try to do one of these per week. As we said, we just print once a week every Thursday. So we try to have our layout editor kind of incorporate one of these per week, depending on the content.
Do you still have time? We
Yeah.
can. So this is an example of the long forms that we did.
Oh, and while she's pulling that up, I actually wanted to bring up one thing. So something that's been really active in terms of engaging with our student body, you can pull up the page, is our opinion section. So I think we might almost be out of time, but we do have letters to the editors and op-eds that come in a lot, so we try to engage people that way. And this is just an example of
The
a
long
long
form
form.
that we did for the city section. And
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.